Today, we are pleased to welcome Cui Peng, CEO of Dalligent Solutions. Please tell us a little bit about your role as CEO, also known as CP for short, along with a bit about your personal and professional background.
Thank you, Tyler. Thank you for having me. Yeah, happy to share with you. We co-founded Dalligent Solutions in the early 2020, right before the pandemic. Right. So this is a tech incubator. The purpose is to build and fill the gap of the Indonesian market and the rest of Southeast Asia, with global experience. So with a few partners, we did it, and of course, we did this incubator under the Cinemas Group. We are a conglomerate based in Indonesia. Yeah, and we have a very good team, and based in Beijing and based in Singapore and Indonesia. It's quite a robust team with years of experience building different unicorns. So we have a pretty good team over there. And my job, is to identify the right opportunity, the commercial models, and also the architecture of the products, working with the team to identify how to educate the market of using it and grow from there. So a little bit of my experience. Most of my time in my professional career actually was quite different. I wasn't a tech guy before. I was more into the corporate finance, investments, and also M&A activities. Yeah, and I also did a bit of startup myself. I have a few companies running around. Yeah, pretty interesting experience for the past 10 years or so. Yeah, and managing different teams, the teams from different culture and background. Yeah, so I've gotten this opportunity to build Dalligent, and it's really a huge responsibility there. And that's why we are gathering very different caliber of people over here to make things happen. Yeah, passing back to you.
Yeah, you caught the you caught the entrepreneur bug, right? You wanted to do the startup thing. Well, yes. Most people probably won't be familiar with the Dalligent brand, but most people in Indonesia now know of Kupu and your careers app. Can you tell us a little bit more specifically about Kupu and how you've taken it just from technology, from the idea stage, into this very successful recruitment platform?
Sure. So Kupu, Kupu in Bahasa Indonesia means butterfly, right? So our vision is for users to use our platform and have the opportunity, just like butterflies, cocoons, they metamorphosize into something different, having a better life, having a better self, and improve their life. So that is the vision we had. And of course, being an internet company, we always want to have a name that is fun, right? So Kupu fits into the bill. Right? And what we are building here is a platform quite different from what we have been using, because it was pandemic. So we actually scrapped a lot of plans on other products to focus on Kupu. A lot of resource we have been focusing on Kupu because we believe after the pandemic, this is something that the society really needs, especially addressing the blue-collar market. So Kupu is a platform that we really address. There's a new phenomenon called the flexi workers. Whether you are blue-collar, gray-collar, you are freelancers, or you're part-timers, or if you are even employed but you want to do something else out of your free time, Kupu is the right platform. And why do we do it? Because we realize the pain point, for this flexi market, it's very hard to match the employer expectations and the right CV, right? Because it's so flexible, and people have different personas, different skill, different strengths, and different attributes. A conventional CV doesn't work anymore. So how can we apply AI? How can we apply technology? How can we apply various methods of growth hacking to ensure that a user, can portray, or user has the opportunity to showcase their strength on a platform and let the computer do the work, bring this strength into something easy to be understood to the employers and match them. Simple as that. So there we go. We have Kupu, and we launched it as of this month is officially a year, and we have more than 1.5 million users. So it seems like people are starting
Amazing.
to help it. Yeah.
That's amazing. 1.5 million users in 1 year. I think that's something to be absolutely proud of. You've got a lot of those key components and key drivers that you're hitting with that.
Thank you.
You know, what role do you think that brand plays in building value in a company? I mean, in such a short time, you've built such a strong brand, and how do you determine how much you're going to invest, in the parent company Dalligent, or in the product Kupu, or what do you think the role of brand plays in your strategic plan?
Yeah, I think brand is a very important, keyword here, right? Everyone try to build a good brand, because after all, brand is something that will become sustainable, and it will play a really crucial part when it comes to competition. It's building trust with our users. So it's a very important, thing for us. And the team has been working very hard, to build a brand, because number one, we don't want to build a brand that is too detached from our market. And two is we don't want to build a brand that is too casual. People don't take it seriously, because after all, we are in a very serious business, right? So we invest a lot of energy, human resource. We speak to various experts, to finding the right positioning, which is very important, especially in the emerging market. Yeah, and determining of how much we invest in the parent and the product brand. I guess, the key here is to invest into the product brand, because that is client facing, right? We want, especially we are addressing the communities of Indonesia, that they don't have the patience to look at your brand board, right? They don't have the patience to remember 2 or 3 brands that belongs to you, which is better. You are forcing them to make judgments. You're forcing them to think, which they don't like to do so, right? They want it to keep it simple. So we invest a lot of energy on the Kupu brand, our product brand, and building a vibe with the communities, and educating them is not just about a product, it's an initiative of building a relationship with our community.
Yeah, I mean, as a technology company, you've got so many of those key aspects. You've got the software, you're building up the brand, and you've got such a large user base now, and that's all driven by intangible assets. And those are, your core intangible assets. How do you go about making sure that you're protecting those assets, and that are really driving your competitive edge? And do you have advice for those other companies when it comes to, mitigating those risks?
Sure, that's a great question, Thailand. So when it comes to intangible assets, I will group it into 2 key components for our company. The first component, of course, is our human capital, and of course the culture behind it. And the second will be, I would say, the product-driven intangible assets and the proprietaries. So how do we protect them? Let's start with the human capital, right? So, I mean, right now, everyone knows for the technology startups to compete with the big boys is really difficult, right? Any fresh grad or any bright young mind who want to join the Google, the TikToks, or the big brands for the start. So how can we get the best people around, right? So what we do is that, it's really communicating the culture, the vision to our candidates, right? Making sure they are the right fit. And we don't want to put too many geniuses in the same room as well, right? It's going to be a disaster. So it has to be a right match of people, talents, and culture to ensure that the teams are optimized and they're efficient to carry out their jobs. And we will continuously, giving them more challenging tasks, because to us, the perfect welfare is not about going to holidays or bonus, right? The best welfare is training our people, make them ready for future challenge, right? And make them, work with global experts, give them exposures, opportunities, especially young people. That's the best welfare we can give. And, as time goes by, it's proven that, they really enjoyed it. They grow, we grow, I grow, the company is growing up together, and everyone is treasuring that. Yeah. And second, we talk about a product-driven intangible assets. So for a tech company today, we are a strong believer in terms of agile development. And, we are not going to build something so perfect and launch it 10 years later and the market don't need it anymore, right? So it's all about putting something into the market first, test it with the commercial model, test it with the users, and just keep improving it. Speed is the key, right? So at one time, we have been discussing of how to protect our, USP and how to prevent competitors from copying here and there. But today, we change our mindset. We welcome any form of, replication. I mean, if they can do it better, we can learn something from there at least, right? We embrace competitors. We embrace, a community to work together, right? So, we have a very strong teams of engineers, right? We break them into different Scrum teams. So some were in charge of, the core, the foundation features. We want to make it to become robust. We constantly upgrade it every month. And we have other teams working on new features. And we have also teams working on purely based on user feedbacks. So with the different teams, our product, continuously evolve itself, on a monthly basis, on a weekly basis. So it's something that we don't really worry as of now, because as you are growing, as you have a clear plan of growth, and there's no concern of replications. Yeah.
So in short, you're hiring the best people you can, having them run as far and as fast as they can, and the competitors just simply can't keep up. That's a good strategy.
Yeah, speed is the key.
Yeah, speed. So you recently, with the growth, companies need money, and you're probably no exception. You just completed a fairly successful capital raise, if I understand. Congratulations on that. That's not easy, especially in this market. What did you do to prepare the company for that?
Right. So if, I'm not an expert in this because, I'm spending too much time on the, operations, right? And for a startup, even a CEO has to be the CEO, have to be anything, right? We all get our hands dirty. But, when it comes to the capital call, we have to do it, means we have to do it. So we are very grateful that we got an opportunity to work with EverEdge and on this intangible asset. It's new for us as well, but the result is amazing. Why? It's because when it comes to fundraising, we have to identify, what kind of money we are taking, right? Whether it's from a VCP, the passive investment play, or are we talking about a strategy investment? To me, it's more challenging to tap into the strategy investors. But first, we have to identify what is the right strategy, what is the win-win for both parties. And that is very important. And that is very crucial for a startup to, invite strategy investors, because that will accelerate our growth, right? So the intangible asset valuation is able to clearly identify what is our strength, what do we have, inventorize those strengths into, a very technical way, and easy to understand way for, our potential investors. From there, we compare notes, what do you have? What do I have? How can this create synergy? How can it create a bigger value for both companies? Yeah, and that is a very important piece to convince, both sides, stakeholders that this is a good match. And we proceed with that. It was very natural, So with the exercise with EverEdge, we're able to lay down from the tangible and intangible aspect of what we have built over the past 1 year, and what these assets are able to bring to the investors. And what do we need is very important as well. Investors also want to know how can they value add, right? So we clearly define the use case that we're going to build together, and things just happen that way. It's a I would say a challenging exercise, but it also effectively gave the company, a reflection of what we have built. Even through the exercise, we realized something could be better. We can look at things and improve on it. Yeah, it's very meaningful.
Yeah, well, it's always great to hear when we hear that the exercise was useful, and I'm glad that you were able to work with us, and my team and I, had a great time working with you through the intangible asset valuation. through the process, we provide education around intangibles, and yes, we do the valuation report and break out the intangibles, but were intangible assets something that you and your management team had always considered important and a company asset prior to working with us? And how did the views change, from before the engagement to after the engagement?
Yeah, it's a great question. Intangible asset, this is a tricky part for most of the companies and professionals, including myself. Being a CEO, I'm sure, Tyler also knows very well. We've done a lot of intangible work as well, which is hard to justify, right? It's unlike CFO, they have a very clear KPI, CEO, very clear KPI. For the CEO, example, the kind of synergies, you bring to the company, the culture you bring to the companies. So how do you gauge those in terms of performance and the output? That is very, very important, especially for a growing tech company. It's not just about product. I strongly believe if a company is just selling a product, it's not going to be successful. It has to be multidisciplinary factors that, improve the company along the way, and we accumulate success bit by bit, right? So finding a company that specializes in, valuing intangible asset, is something that we never thought before. We didn't know it exists, and we were very curious and puzzled how the metrics actually measure this, right? So it was an eye-opening experience for us of how professional the team was. How can they understand what we were trying to do, our pinpoints, our success stories, and what we have built, what we have accumulated, and transmute those into, technical terms and the graphs, charts, and in the quant side of analysis. That was amazing. Even, my stakeholders was looking at something. Oh, you guys did this, and this has this kind of outcome. That was amazing. Can you implement that to my other companies as well? Right. So it was a very fun exercise and very crucial for us.
Yeah. Well, thank you. I know we've been able to get a couple of referrals, and we are now working with some of those board members of other companies. So appreciate those introductions. And look, all companies, as they go through the growth process, being able to find the value in their business, being able to raise capital, being able to articulate to the shareholders, it's such an important process. And you guys have done it extremely well. So again, I give my admiration and respect for what you've built in such a short time. It really is impressive, and you're on a great trajectory to build something great there. Any final comments that you'd like to add, or advice that maybe you'd like to share with maybe other companies who are looking to raise capital and are either earlier in the journey, than you are now?
Right. Okay. I wouldn't call it advice, because I'm also learning from people around me, from you, from your team, right? But what I can share is that through a good couple of years in my career, I was also on a buy side. I was on an investment committee of various companies. So typically what we look at, and also currently what investors are looking at us, is actually pretty straightforward. People who are trying to raise funds usually complicate the idea of, it's going to be complicated, it's going to be long, it's going to be, cutthroat, kind of things. I believe in the professional context, it doesn't happen, because investors are looking for value, right? So two types of investors, like I mentioned earlier. One who's looking for, the trajectory of growth of their capital, right? And second type is looking at growth of capital plus the synergy that is, partnership or fundraising can bring to their existing business, right? So that is where I believe the owners of business need to be very clear of what they are offering. And they need to be very clear to differentiate, what they're offering is what the market wants instead of what they want. Often we see some startups, they are confused with what they want to give to the market rather than what the market needs, right? So you will be stuck in the, a very awkward position. For us, we like to keep things simple. Despite all the hundreds of features we have in our mind, we need to be disciplined. We need to fix one thing right first, make our foundation strong, make our core strong, be very clear of our, value proposition, very clear of our plan, commercial plan forward. And from there, when the investor understands it, when they see a very clear picture there, when they see the team is focused, and if it's a match, it's a match,
Mm-hmm. It's definitely always more about just the money, right? You find the right partner, the right investor makes a big difference when it's that those intangible assets are coupled with the money as well. Can make a
Yes.
significant difference.
Absolutely. And one more thing to add is that I realize we have spoke to quite a fair bit of investors, and we have very good relationship with them. They are all institutional investors. So we saw the trend of growing, interest and attention from investors on the, company culture and other intangible areas of building a startup, right? It's very important. People usually think, people and culture, you will come when we grow bigger. It's not for now, it's for later. Making money is more important. I would say that's a wrong concept. Without a good culture, you cannot get the right talents. You cannot have the right talents, come up with the best ideas, and you cannot protect your idea. And what are we talking about here, right? So investors are growing concerns and looking very seriously into how founders able to attract talents and retain talents, right? And how the companies are, valuing their IP and protecting their IP. So these are paramount importance when it comes to working with external investors.
I couldn't have said it better. Thank you so much. I mean, that's sound advice. And look, again, I appreciate so much for your time and being able to do this interview with us today. And had the pleasure of working with you. And I look forward to future engagements with you. And appreciate it again so much. Thank you so much for your time today.
Thank you, Tyler, for having me. Thank you.